should you go to Camp Conference? Well, that's easy. It's an amazing way to find out opportunities within the United Church. There are so many grants and funding that we can gain access to that'll give our campers a better camp experience, improve our infrastructure, improve our camp cash flow, and keep us open for 15 years, which is what we need. We need to prolong camp and find ways to continue to get funding for different niche projects. While I was at Camp Conference, I had the opportunity to stand up, present an idea of a vegetable garden for our children's faith and for their vegetable learnings, and so that they can gain the knowledge of gardening. We won $500, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Any of us could have won that for our camps. Any of us could have gone up and presented. We won Data Pro software. We won mentoring. We won cash. It's one option. We've got tons now that we're within the network, and that's just going to continue to expand. But we all have to go. We all have to show up. We all have to be a part of it, because with all of us, we can make a change. What did I learn? I learned that there are different ways that we can design our cabins that are affordable, that will make them look 10 times better. There are also affordable designs that we can build cabins in order to support different clientele in the off season. We can do weddings, we can do schools, we can do people that wouldn't necessarily like the rusticness of our camp. We can accommodate that, and that'll only bring in more funding to keep us running through the summers. With other funding, we can get things like camp radio, start new traditions, so when the campers are going down to morning dip, we broadcast the radio across camp. That's just one idea we had of many, because it's endless possibility. We can now afford things like a GoPro, where we can show camp hype in the off season and get kids excited about it. We can also live stream campfires, vespers, morning dip, everything so that people know what the camp experience is, because 2020 is coming and kids learn stuff online. That's where the action is. If we want them to get out there, we need to get their interest while they're online, while they're streaming, while they're watching videos. Get their interest, get them a camp.
What did I learn at conference? So you might be wondering, what are some of the things that I learned at conference? One of the biggest takeaways that we got was that off-season is actually where a lot of the bigger camps are making most of their money. So whether that be June school camps or weddings or like Thanksgiving dinner rentals, Halloween parties, all that kind of stuff, a lot of the camps are using the off-season to really improve what they have. And we learned, so for us, our camp isn't winterized. So one of the biggest takeaways we got is there's a lot of grants and money out there to help improve infrastructure, to improve your camping season. We also talked about how some of our camp songs might not be the most appropriate anymore, and how do you change and fix little things in your camp that have been long-standing traditions that would be heartbreaking to just tear away all at once. So one of the biggest suggestions we got was to slowly remove your camp songs or change them. So don't go at it all at once, because you're just going to have an uproar from everyone. The best idea is to take things slow and progress it naturally. So take one or two songs that you know have a few offensive pieces or things that aren't culturally appropriate anymore, and either remove like one song a summer or see what words you can replace to make it work better for you in your camp. Another thing we talked about was meals. So a lot of our United Church camps tend to have very North American standardized meals, and that culturally different foods is not only interesting to kids who don't usually eat it, but it's a huge comfort for kids who might feel a little bit out of place at camp and might be in the minority. So an interesting thing to look into would be to see what you can change in your menu.
Why should you go to conference? So I was really nervous before I went, but I am so thankful that I was able to get this amazing learning opportunity that we should all be taking advantage of. So whether you just joined the board like me a few months ago, or whether you've been on the board for most of your life, it is so important that we have these learning opportunities like conference. One of my favorite things about going to conference is that you can go up to anyone with a problem your camp is having, and they'll suggest amazing ways that they battle the same problem at their camp. They'll say, oh, we actually do this at our camp. We thought it worked really well, so maybe that will work for you. It's really great to get that immediate feedback about maybe this will work or maybe this will work, and you can really just set out the steps right there. Another thing that I really loved about conference was learning about the big progressive ideas that we need to be including into our camp, such as making the camp an affirming camp and including people of all gender identities and making them feel safe and comfortable and loved, just like every other camper that comes into camp. We want to make this process really, really meaningful, so we don't want to jump into it too quickly or rush the steps. We want to make it meaningful and take the steps very slowly. We also came back to the question, where do you want your camp to be in 15 years? So we want our camp to be running. We want lots of campers and every camper to have a great experience. So we have to be thinking about the long-term planning of our camps.
I attend conference. Leading up to conference, I was a bit apprehensive. Once arriving and meeting so many dedicated camp-loving people, I knew I had made the right choice. There were so many people to learn from and connect with and throughout our country that it was overwhelming. But there were so many opportunities to take advantage of and so many people to learn from. What did I learn at conference? We learned about partnerships. That was one of the most interesting things that I found that we learned about for our camp in particular. Our camp has been struggling for the last little while to figure out different ways to boost camper attendance and make money in our off season. And one thing we learned about was partnerships and how to benefit from them and take advantage of them. And we've already started working on building our partnerships with other organizations. We've been talking to groups like Youth Project and how to make a partnerships with them so that we can both benefit. Their organization and our camp can benefit from them, which is very cool because it's automatic, guaranteed camper attendance, and also it boosts knowledge of that our camp exists and how awesome it truly is to be there and be out in nature. The other thing that we were really promoted to take advantage of, and which we have taken advantage of to a certain extent, is available technology and how our camp can take advantage of redesigning our website, making it more accessible, making registration as easy as possible for people, as well as showing people what our camp is like through technology, through the internet, and through social media. And we came up with this really cool idea while we were at conference, was to use a drone or a GoPro to show what the day of the life in the life of a camper is like, and the day in the life of a cook or a counselor or a rec staff or a director, what that's like, and to immerse people in camp life while we're at camp, to show them that it's not scary to come to camp for the first time, and it's not scary to send your kid to camp for the first time, and that camp is all about being immersed in nature, and that's truly what the United Church of Camping is all about. So those are two really big things that could really help our camp and that we've already started getting a move on. So those were the biggest things that we learned from Camp Conference Connections. But the conference was so informative and so overwhelming that when we got home we had to debrief. We had to, the five of us that had gone to conference had to make a document and write down all of the things that we learned before it escaped our brains, because we had learned so very much. So it was definitely a worthwhile experience, and I would promote all camps across the Maritime Conference to try to send a few representatives, because we learned a lot that otherwise we would not have learned.